Warning! This video contains a lot of light effects. Photosensitive viewers should probably take the necessary precautions, but I ain't your mom. Why, hello YouTube! Greetings from the Lazy Eyebrow to not a Transformer review again. Don't worry, I've got one half done. They are coming soon, I hope. But anyways, this is a lightsaber from a company, Saber X. Now, I'm not by any means a Star Wars channel, not even close. In fact, I wouldn't even say I'm a fan of Star Wars itself. So why am I covering this? Well, the guy behind Saber X visited my boss recently. We got talking about my Transformers collection, and then he started talking about how he just came from Comic-Con in the neighboring province and nearly sold out of the stuff he sells, which are these. These are high-quality lightsaber replicas. The point of the story is to say, full disclosure, I didn't pay for this, so you could technically say this is a sponsored video. However, I did ask him if I could do this review because these things are just way too dang cool. Again, not so much a fan of Star Wars as I am really cool technology, but that being said, not only did he say yes to me doing this, but stay tuned until the end to find out how you can win your own lightsaber from his store. So opening up the box, inside you'll find the main attraction wrapped in plastic. I picked a silver and blue hilt, but there's a ton of options you can choose from. Of course, there are character replica sabers like Obi-Wan and Ahsoka has been pretty popular lately, but I'm the kind of person that while pretending I'm swinging around a laser sword is cool and all, some level of originality is appreciated too, and having this silver and blue makes it feel like this is my own personal lightsaber, which I kind of appreciate. And using Jobby's patented cold touch technique, I can tell you personally, this is made of some of the smoothest aluminum I've ever felt. Like, this feels really, really nice. Because of the metal and the electronics inside, this has a nice weight to it too. There's some other designs like this as well, all in aluminum, and in a wide variety of colors. My boss actually having a green one and a black one. The black one of which has that extra bit of hardware that splices into the main LED leads and lights up a kyber crystal corresponding to the color of your blade. So that's actually pretty cool. So as for the saber hilt itself, what's included? As far as the interface goes, you have a single button with the Empire imagery on it, as well as a USB-C terminal that's primarily used for charging, and that's basically it. Opening up the saber shows all the internal guts though. Opening up the bottom shows us a small 1-inch speaker. Unscrewing the main body shows us what that speaker is connected to, that being a Xenopixel V2 core, the heart of this whole operation. Included on board is a 3600 milliamp, 5-volt, 10-amp battery, a 16GB micro SD card that holds all the different sound fonts, and of course the board itself that houses a range of accelerometers that I'll get into the function of later. Finally, unscrewing the top will expose the connection point. Featured here are 7 pogo pins that mate with the LED strip blade at its copper-plated base, with the pinout being the following: 3 pins for the negative lead on the outer ring, 3 pins for the positive lead on the middle ring, and finally a single pin for data on the middle circle. Not that much different from a USB, honestly, save for a second data line. In any case, this isn't the only thing that comes in the box either, as you also get a bag of screws, metal rings, and 2 Allen keys provided for installation. The rings of which being used as spacers for the hilt which things thread into. For instance, the button interface was on the longer milled end of the saber tip, and I wasn't so much a fan of that, so unscrewing the tip and putting 5 spacers on changed the tolerances enough that I was able to get the lower milled end pointing towards me, which is my preference. And same on the bottom. I didn't like that the extruded bits when setting the hilt down didn't leave the buttons face up, so through trial and error I found a setup that did just that for me. Okay, so hilt is cool and all, but not entirely why you get one of these things. Let's talk about the blade. This is the 1/7 inch LED blade that works with the Xenopixel. As discussed earlier, you have the copper plate connection points to interface with the hilt itself, but the blade itself is made of a lightweight polycarbonate. Basically, these things are designed to really take a beating, and still have the lights inside be protected. And you couple that with the fact that it's about to be coupled onto an aluminum milled hilt, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this in terms of the durability that's being baked into the design. So to install this blade into the hilt, start by inserting the blade copper-plated end until you feel the blade push against the pins. Hold it there with one hand, and then insert the grub screw and tighten down with the Allen key. Once those are all in place, we're ready to go. So to get the saber going, hold the power button until you hear power on. From there, if all you want is a glowing light stick, all you gotta do is tap the button again and the thing lights up. Makes that iconic ignition noise. You're good to start swinging this thing around and having some fun. As is, I'm impressed. I've never held one of these higher grade saber replicas before, and having only played with your garden variety of Walmart offerings, to see this thing graduated up the whole way along the blade was just cool. But that alone was not enough to make me want to do this video. This was. Using the onboard accelerometers, you have 3 ignition choices. You have the twist flick, you have the stab ignition, which can be used to hold your saber upright, give it a jolt, and watch it come to life, or my personal favorite, give that thing a swing. Swing it down and go on the offensive. Swing it up and go on the defensive. Swing it around and just go full-on theatrics. I don't know what to tell you in terms of why, but this was honestly one of my favorite things to learn about the device, and the main draw I had for this thing. Anyway, enough of that for a minute. Let's go over all the button functions, and where applicable, I'll highlight what gyro control does this as well. When it's off, a quick press will ignite, or the previously mentioned gyro methods. Hold it for 1 button flash, and it will cycle through 3 volume options: full, low, muted. Hold it for 2 flashes, and you'll get different blade effects. The default is steady, but then you get unstables, where it rapid cycles between color off and white. Rainbow Blade, my youngest daughter's favorite. Candy Blade, my oldest daughter's favorite. Cracked Blade, like your Kyber Crystal could use some TLC. Pulse, like your capacitors aren't quite doing it these days and could probably use some replacement. Flash Blade, where it cycles between on and off rapidly like you forgot to install capacitors at all. And Fire Blade, as if it were made of fire. Best used with red or orange, but feel free to use any color. Go nuts. Hold the saber for 3 flashes and you access the ignition options. Default is just a standard extension like you'd see in the original 6 movies, but then you get broken ignition, photon ignition, build your saber with stack ignition, hold yourself a Federation starship nacelle with warp ignition, defy the laws of physics with phaser ignition. Scavenger ignition, I think, is pretty cool. It's like you start a pilot light followed by your saber. And finally, Hunter ignition, which is kind of the same as Scavenger in the sense that your blade is trying to start, but it's waiting for the capacitors to charge up or something. In any case, it makes a nice sound to boot. Hold the saber for 4 flashes, or point the saber down and flick it to the left, to change the font. There are 34 preloaded color, type, ignition, and sound effect combinations, many of which corresponding to certain characters within the franchise so that you can pick up and instantly cosplay as your preferred character. They range from The Chosen, New Horizon, The Dark Sword, The Assassin, The Knight, Wanderer, The Protector, The Dark Empress, The Sun, The Third Hunter, The Master, The Dark Lord Order, Fallen Apprentice, Magenta, The Princess, The Butcher, Truly Lost, Wraith, The Senate, Redeemed, Bounty, The Count, Codex of Light, Cyber Terror, Dark Ages, Hatred, Idle, Serenity, The Champion, The Dark Lord Revisited, The Learner, The Second, The Teacher, Whispers of Power, or my personal favorite for just how absurd it is, Moonfield. A lot of these are super cool. Some of them I can recognize outright, like calling Palpatine the Senate. That's actually pretty cool. But digging into the files on the card reveals a lot of them have credits of what's inspired and who made them. They are the following. But that being said, I do have to critique the organization of this. It just kind of feels hodgepodged. Like, why not stuff like Second Sister and Third Sister next to each other? Or Yoda, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan next to each other in terms of ordering? Or even something like Kestis being 3 fonts over from Dark Kestis? Or other little nitpicks. What even more of a nuisance is that there's no real way to know what these are inspired off of without opening up the files and learning this where the credits are. And not even all of them at that. 2 of them don't even have notepad files. I mean, all of this is easily rectified by rotating the file names on the card and painstakingly going through the configuration files and adjusting all the settings accordingly and going from there. It just seems like something that should have been done from the get-go, as well as documentation that would have been nice to have been provided. But hey, here it is in this video if you end up getting your own in one convenient location. So finally, you can hold the blade for 10 seconds to turn the blade off completely.
Power off.
Now, when the blade is on, the button does do different things as well. Tap the button and part of your blade will light up and make a blaster deflection sound, so feel free to pretend like you're Qui-Gon defending yourself from the Trade Federation. Hold the button for 1 flash to activate the drag effect. This will light the end of your saber up white and make a sound like you're dragging your blade along the ground. That's pretty cool. Press and hold the blade for 2 flashes and you'll jump into color select mode, at which point the blade will slowly cycle through the range of colors until you find the one you want. Tap the button and go from Jedi Knight to Sith Lord in a matter of 10 seconds. Holding the button for anything longer than that, or by twisting your hand again to the right, will turn off the blade. Dang, that was a mouthful. That's a ton of different options and ways to control the device with just one singular button. Like goodness, this is starting to feel like the control arm on the steering column of a Chevy. But let's say you want even more control. Well, good thing this blade is Bluetooth enabled. So jump on your favorite app downloader on your phone and download Xeno Configurator. Using this app will allow you to completely customize the Saber with a fairly intuitive user interface. You can adjust the volume from 0 to 100 instead of 0, 40, and 100. You can select your preferred font from a list instead of cycling through all of them if you accidentally passed it. But also, if you click the select light effect, you can also set up all the lights from the off mode button presses. Activate the different effects from your phone instead of memorizing how many light presses you need to wait for. Set up a specific color with RGB values instead of waiting for a color mode to scroll around to the one you want. Have it cycle slowly through everything like 2 button flashes. Quick color select where it will hard cycle through red, orange, yellow, yellow-green, green, cyan, blue, dark blue, various purples, and various shades of white to quickly get the color that you want. And finally track, where if you've loaded music on the SD card, it will play. It doesn't come with any except for the Moonfield font for some reason, in which it'll happily play the Sailor Moon theme, of all themes. So if you want others, you'll have to find your own. But seriously though, can we talk about why it comes with the Sailor Moon theme? That's just the first page anyway. The second page allows you to determine the blade length, brightness, intensity. If you have the Kylo Ren cross blades, that option becomes available as well. Countdown will make the Saber beep at you for all the flashes, which is great if you have a replica Saber that doesn't have a light up button and you need some sort of audio cue to help you know where you're at. Motion control allows you to relegate the ignition and retraction to the corresponding button presses in case you don't want the thing activating while you walk, which, since we're on that topic, let's discuss the subpage of page 2, that being motion control. Here you can calibrate the sensitivity of all the gyro controls. Is the thing turning on and off wildly? Push-pull will fix that. Twist sensitivity on page 2, and if your blade isn't activating on the swing, increasing sensitivity on page 3 will fix that here too. Back to basic control. Clash sensitivity is where you want the light up effect when you hit someone else's saber. Motor speed will work on upcoming lightsabers where the crystal chamber spins. Power on-off time changes how long you need to hold the button to get that to happen. And then there's a swath of options down here that should work, but doesn't seem to on mine, or at least I didn't notice anything different. So do with what you will on this one. Anyway, after that, here's where we get into some advanced levels of customization. Plugging in the included SD card shows all 34 different sound fonts. Each one contains all their included sound effect files. Obviously, they are named such for a reason for the Xenopixel to pull from, which really makes it easy to record your own sounds and pop them into a custom sound file like this font that's made of just me making mouth noises. But hey, if you want this thing to belch out a saber or make a coin effect from Mario when you hit something, the world's your oyster. Settings reveals all the UI sound effects in a config.ini file. I feel like it goes without saying that if you're going to muddle about in here that you should probably make a backup of these files, especially anything like a config file. But in any case, you can see everything that the Xenopixel is reading from, with things commented out for explanations. A lot of this can be controlled in-app, which makes it much safer in case you screw up something. But other stuff that can't be includes how long it takes for each blade mode to ignite in milliseconds, or configuring your own blade fonts with explanations about what each value means. Okay, so that was a comprehensive, and I mean really comprehensive rundown of the tech inside and how it operates. So how can you get your own? Well, head on over to saberx.ca where you can find your own saber in a wide range of colors. Or if you're the type that wants to cosplay a specific character, those options exist too. So how can you win one of these? Simple. Comment SaberX down below. That's literally it. SaberX. And then share this video with a friend. On November 30th, I'm going to pick one winner from a list to direct message a coupon code that will give you one free saber and blade from the Padawan collection on saberx.ca. So that was the lightsaber from SaberX. Like I said before, this thing is just impressive. Like, you have so many different options with a bunch of different modes that activate in a bunch of different ways. And at the end of the day, once it's configured the way you want, it really is just a blast to swing this thing around, or light your way down a dark hallway, or whatever else you want it to do. It's super durable, and while the electronics do come with a disclaimer that it's not 100% battle capable, all that really means is that you don't want to take this down to your local baseball diamond and try to start slugging out home runs. You can absolutely start whacking the snot out of your friend and still have a lightsaber with lights and sound. And if you get two, well, he can even defend himself as well. It's great for people with kids too, in the sense that I don't mind if my kids play with this. I'm not afraid they're going to break this expensive collectible item, but they can still have their fun and, in a reasonable sense, not do any damage either. Which is also great in the sense that Disney also has a workshop where you can build your own, but that's several $100s, and what you're basically left with is this massive hilt and a blade for all intents and purposes
He's for display only. You handle him too much, he's not gonna last.
And then you get video footage like this where a cosplayer asks to borrow your $600 display replica and shatters the thing in a few minutes. Like, nah, this is aluminum. This is polycarbonate lightsaber replica that's built to sound great, handle well, like I haven't even spoken about how terribly well balanced it is, and designed to take a right pounding and keep on trucking. And that, I thought, was worth a video. This has been the Lazy Eyebrow.